something is unexpected here.
Mm.
Let's see here. But nothing here
Nothing changed, right? It was working.
changed. Well, yes, it was working. So let's look at the mocks. Yeah, but this changed and it's missing a comma here. You see?
Okay, that's weird.
Yeah. Well, weird as it is, but it's still not there. So yarn start. Um, and now we should be good. So listening on port 3000 and we have our app.
I'm not seeing your screen moving, actually.
You mean on the stream?
No, on the SSH.
Oh, well, because I'm on the browser.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
so here I see the the browser, but I don't see images. So let's look at the images here. Something with the images is wrong. I think we uploaded like an image. Yeah, Lauren Flickr is down. So it's probably this T thing here. Yeah. Okay, so it's, I don't know, I probably hit something. So let's do the mock um, here. So here, let's do the mocks. And it has like an extra T here. So this one here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
but let's do like 220 on 240. I don't know. Let's see if that works. So now I refresh. And, well, okay. We still have an image, so it's okay.
what?
Uh,
What is this
I don't know. It's
thing?
like a cat. But anyway, so um, okay. Oh, I see. So something here, like the image has some CSS rule here that kind of stretches it out. Um, you see, it's like 610 over 666. Um,
I don't see.
yeah, like you see it
Oh,
here.
okay.
Yeah,
Here.
610 over 666. Um, but so let's look at the styles here. Um, so something is stretching the image. I see width. Okay, yeah, that's the problem. So width is 100%. So it's,
Okay.
yeah, so that's the problem. So this width is 600, um, probably 600 pixels on this. Yeah, you see, it looks better when it's this format rather than like the big images.
Mm-hmm.
Um, anyway, we're not gonna handle this right now, but like it's good to know what the problem is. You see, this looks much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um, so this is actually something we need to think about. Like when users upload images, we need to think about whether um, how to resize it and make sure that in all sizes the image looks good.
Mm.
Um, so we're gonna have to think about that. Um, well, it's good to find that out right now rather than when it's implemented. So you want to do a quick recap on what we have, what we've done so far, and then we're gonna discuss what we're doing today.
Sure. So I think what we have so far, basically, we have the client side, the React for this homepage. We have the component ready for the card component.
Mm-hmm.
That's what's showing right here. And then we have the library like integrated in the React client that can basically query a GraphQL server, right? So on the server side, we have the most basic implementation of a schema that basically supplies a bunch of uh, data related to the card object,
Well,
like
we can
images.
actually go to localhost 3000 here, and go to our GraphQL, and then we can see. I don't remember what the query is, so just a sec. Let me refresh my mind. I think it's all topics. Yeah,
Yes.
and then this has a title and it has a description. It has a thumbnail, um, right? And then it
Yep.
has tags. Whoops, sorry, can't type. What's going on? Okay, so tags, and then let's open up a bracket here. I'm sorry, I just can't type today. And then this is, I think this has a name and an ID. So let's close this correctly. And yeah, you see it has tags and it has an ID.
Yep.
So this is our API, right? And what we see here is that the API is basically mocked. It's not really, well, we don't really see here, but we can talk about it, that the API is mocked. It's not actually going to a database,
No, that's right.
and doing things in the database and resolving and like doing stuff like that. Um, Rather than doing that, we decided to not really implement the backend right now and do it with mocks.
Right.
So yeah, go ahead, continue. I'm sorry I disturbed. I interrupted you.
No, it's fine. So yeah, so basically this is what we have on the server side. It's mock data. We just have a schema, right? And then right, the client side is querying this fake database, for data. It's using the data from our mock data to display all the images and text.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty much what we have so far.
Yeah.
So regarding what we want to do, so like I kind of, so one of my recommendation is, we can try to go in the photo part of it. The reason I thought about that is because I think image upload is like a core part of this project, right? So in theory, we should allow, we want to allow user to upload high quality images of their DIY projects.
Mm-hmm.
To display and show off and discuss within the community. So that, I think, that's going to require both the client side and server side, to have the whole thing to work, right? And
Mm-hmm.
that would be, and it's a core feature. So that's one of my recommendations, but I'm open for other suggestions as well, like whatever you think it's good.
All right. Um, I mean, we can definitely go down that route, and implement, like, the uploader here,
Yep.
and have an upload process. And inside the upload process, we also need to think about resizing the images,
Mm-hmm.
and whether resizing the images is a process on the server side or whether we are doing something else. Um,
Okay.
for example, uploading to S3, and then calling a Lambda function that will take the image that we just uploaded, process it, change the dimensions of the image, and then
Mm-hmm.
put it on another bucket. Um, so that's definitely an option to do today.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it touches a lot of interesting things. Definitely touches the client side. Um, we can actually start with the server side and like update, upload images with like curl command,
Yeah.
instead of doing it on the client, because a client uploader, it requires like a lot of UI.
Yeah.
So the question is, again, what do we really want to do, right? It's like in this process there is no constraint of you need to do this first, and you need to do this later. It's literally like what interests us, what interests you, and what interests the viewers, which are quiet today. But we really can do whatever, right? So it's really a matter of what are you more interested in doing, right? Nothing really more than that, I guess.
Yeah, I think we. I think the most complex part of about the image should be come from it should be on the server side, right? Because I imagine like an image uploader on the client side is like it's a pretty conventional thing to build, although in React it might be a bit different. So yeah, we could try to do the server side of this, see how it goes.
Okay. Um, all right, we can do that.
Yeah.
We can definitely do that. One thing I one thing I'm thinking about here. Um,
Yeah.
so we have a couple of options here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One is, you know what? Let's not like over architect it. We can go ahead and just do that. Okay.
What were you gonna say?
Well, what I'm saying is we can like over architect a lot of things of saying. So here's the deal, right? It's like it's the architect in me speaking right now.
Okay,
um,
so go ahead. I
so
think there's learning value in listening to that.
so here's what I'm saying, right? You have one of two ways. So anyway, we know we work inside Amazon, right? And it doesn't really matter. You can work in Amazon, you can work in Google, you can work in Azure. They all support what's called object store, right? Document store,
Okay.
object store, whatever you want to call it. Well, I guess object store is the better term.
Yes.
Document store is more like linked to MongoDB and Cassandra and other stuff like that. So let's not go into that.
All right.
And then what you say, let's say you wanna have a service that uploads images, right? You want to have a client side that uploads images, right?
Yep.
So you can say, okay, so I'm gonna upload images to my server, and then my server is gonna call the put on the object to S3 or to Google or to whatever, right?
Right.
What
Right.
is the problem with that? The problem with that your service is the scale factor of the upload process.
Right.
What you can do is you can upload directly to S3, like from the client to S3 using the client side.
I see. I see.
And once the upload process is done, which can be
Mm.
whatever, you can like call back to your server side and say, hey, like this image has been uploaded. You can verify, you can do this, you can do that, you can save it to the
Yeah.
database, and so on and so forth.
Yeah. 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 I see. I see.
Right? You see what I'm saying? So the process is
Yeah, I'm starting to see where the routing going. That's actually a very interesting
now
point.
now what are the advantages here? The advantages here that let's say the upload process takes, I don't know what, let's take 10 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Now you have one of your threads, one of your, I don't even know if thread is the right way to call it because it's not really a thread, but you have one of your server resources caught, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's it. For 10 seconds, it can't do anything
Yeah.
else.
Yeah. Exactly.
So imagine you have 50 of those during like 1 second, right? Like someone uploads 50 files, or 50 different people upload one file. Then you have 50 server processes that are basically doing stuff
Mm-hmm.
for 10 seconds, right? So for 10
Right.
seconds, you can't do anything else.
Right.
So you need to scale out your services. So Magma Razor, I guess, says hello on live video. Hello, Magma Razor.
Hello.
Um, so now, going back to what I was saying. Now you need to scale your service horizontally, just to allow users to upload images.
Mm-hmm.
Which, if you think about it, is saying I don't really need to be involved in the process. Right? I can have them upload the images, have Amazon handle the scale. They can handle it. You know what I'm
Of
saying?
course. Of
so
course.
so even if you direct 10,000 users to upload an image right now, it will basically not tickle Amazon by 1 bit. But if you put 10,000 users on your website right now and have them upload, you're going to feel it. Not only you're going to feel it, you will never be able to scale out fast enough to process it.
Yeah.
So
Dude, that's such a good. I mean, this is very, very interesting. I think what you're talking about.
so again, this is the architect in me saying and again, this is the architect in me coming from a consumer app, that knows that sometimes, they write about you and you can literally like have 20x 30x users for like an hour, and then it
Mm-hmm.
goes back down. And you can't always like anticipate that. um, so I'm definitely overthinking and over architecting, but I think it's worth mentioning that it's out there, right? You can have, and I mean, think about the process right now in terms of like architecture that Amazon supports, and how smart they are with the triggers and stuff like that. You can have your user upload directly to S3, and then for this S3 bucket, you say this is user uploaded objects, right? I'm still not, they're still not mine, right? They're sitting in this bucket, and this
Mm-hmm.
bucket is an isolated environment. So then once an upload has been done, you trigger a call to your service saying, hey, this upload has been done. Here's the image, it's right here. And then you take the
Right.
image and you say, okay, take the image and process it and like save it in the database for the user profile, or save it to the database for something. Or you're going to say, scan for viruses. I don't know, right? Something. But you don't have to do it from your server, like from your web application server. That's what I'm like trying to get at.
So I think that's definitely sounds very refreshing, because like it just makes a whole lot of sense to me that it basically you remove your bottleneck, like 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 at least on the upload part, right? It won't be bottleneck because Amazon can handle as many upload as you know the client side wants to do, and then our server side can just handle the load from Amazon,
Yeah.
right? And so, but I'm curious in this process, does it make it slower for the image to be displayed on the client side? Because I imagine that the the data goes from the React to Amazon, right?
Yeah.
And then like the client, when it wants to display these images, it needs to get it from the server, right? The database needs to have it before the
Well,
image can be consumed by the application.
so again, this is this is a I'm gonna try and phrase it correctly, but there is a UX element to what you said that sits
All right,
outside of the architecture,
I see.
right?
I
So
see.
here's what we're saying, right? So you're saying right now you're like inferring. I don't know if inferring is the right word. I hope someone in the chat room can correct me if I'm not. But what I'm saying, you're inferring decisions right now that have not yet been made on the architecture, right?
Uh-huh.
You're saying, hey, what if I want to display the image before the image is in our database? But what you should be saying, or what you should be thinking is, what if we need this ability? How do we architect it?
Right.
right? So we can definitely do that because once the image is on Amazon, the image is available to view. It doesn't necessarily mean it's in our database, but you can have like the images upload and then like have them viewed on the page, regardless
Okay.
of the architecture we just described,
Okay.
right? I mean, those are two or even three different processes, or two or three different UX considerations, and so some of it is UX consideration, some of it is backend consideration, and again, the role of the architect here, the role of like maybe the senior engineer that does that, is to think about all of these, right? Because what you usually see, I call it in the naive architecture, is just like an express application, and it's fine, right? At some scales, it's completely fine.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is, you need, like, the naive architecture is, okay, so I'm gonna have an express application. The express application is gonna upload to S3, and after it uploads to S3, it's gonna save it in my database. And after it saves it in my database, it's gonna return the object to the user, right? This is the
Yeah.
classic monolithic application with your bottleneck like directly on your application server. And the same application server is likely also the one that's responding to API calls, and also the one that's responding to your web app and to your like uh, device, to the
Yeah.
mobile app. So you're designing your product or your architecture with a very clear failure, um, that's like likely to happen, because once you have someone uploading images enough, you're gonna basically crumble down your entire product with it.
Right.
um, so and again, what I'm saying is, for us right now, definitely, for the process of um, architecting this product, I'm probably overthinking. But what I'm saying is, because this is like for educational purposes, it's worth a discussion, right? That's all I'm kind of trying to say here.
Um. Actually, yeah, it's definitely worth a discussion. But do you think it's gonna make it way much more complex to implement that architecture? Because that's, I would say that would be a very kind of interesting architecture to even to see or even to work on. I mean, what do you think? Do you think it's worth a stab?
You want to do it? Let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, like that's pretty. I mean, sounds pretty freaking amazing to me if that can be done, right? I mean, in theory, it can be done for sure. I think it's just like, seeing it in practice would be more like, awesome, right? Awesomeness times 10. But since our purpose here is really we're free to do whatever we want, so no reason not to give it a stab, I think.
Definitely not. Um, so we can definitely go there, and we can definitely do that. So let me open just my Amazon dashboard here. Just a sec. Um,
Yeah, I mean, we can afford to make any type of mistake or to,
well, it's not
here,
about
right?
mistakes.
What I'm saying is we can here. That's the whole. That's a benefit of being able to kind of work on here, right? Because we don't have a deadline. It's gonna probably take longer,
Well, it's
but
not. Again, it's not about really. It's not about deadline. Um, as I see it, right? I mean, as I see it, and as I know myself, this to me is not more complicated to implement than like the naive way. Because
okay.
like, for me right now, the naive way is completely, like, in my brain, and then
Yeah.
this way is also in my brain, right? So but again, for a junior engineer, that I'm like, if I tell you, right, I'm your architect, and it's not that hypothetical, I was your architect, a couple months ago.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, if I would tell you to, hey, go implement this, this might take you 3-4 days to just like wrap your mind around it.
Yeah.
So
Exactly.
so here's what I'm saying. Let's wrap our minds around it before we implement it.
Sure.
All right?
Yeah. That
Sounds
would be
good?
interesting. Yeah.
So here's what I need to do. What I need to do is I need to get my whiteboard.
Yeah. Yeah. We need a whiteboard here to draw out the
Okay.
linkage, the
So I
processes.
need to grab my whiteboard. Um, so how am I going to do that? Because I don't think it's in my. I think my daughter kind of lifted it. So yeah, it's an interesting situation. Uh, so here's what I think I'm gonna do. I think I'm gonna go and grab it. All right.
Okay. Okay.
I'll be back in a second.
Sure.
All right. I am back
Cool.
officially. Okay, so let me grab my whiteboard camera here. Grab it here. Oh, just a sec. You see, when you told me
Excuse me.
when you told me in the last stream that we don't need this camera in the stream, I knew it's gonna come back firing.
Yeah, but that camera was just showing your pretty hand typing on the keyboard. That
Well,
was
but the
pretty
thing
much
is
it.
that it's showing my hands typing on the keyboard, but when I need it, it's a it's a whiteboard camera. All right, so
All right.
let's put it on OBS here. Just 1 second. I'm not sure it's. I'm not sure it's. Let's see here. I'm not sure it's displaying right away. Um, so I'm gonna try. How do I? How do I do that? Okay, so this one is video capture device, and then the device is the Microsoft webcam. All right.
We see a big camera.
Yeah, you see it. So
Yeah.
as I move it around here, you see it.
Yeah. I see it. I see it.
All right, that's pretty cool. You see. All right, so I'm putting it here. Is this a good place?
Yeah.
Okay, so here it is. So you see my whiteboard now?
Yeah. Well, it's shaking.
Oh yeah.
Still shaking.
Shit, I feel like an amateur here. All right,
I
let's.
see the light. I see your lamp.
You see my.
Oh, I see. Okay, now I'm
You see
starting
the
to see the lamp.
reflection.
Okay.
Okay, so anyway, what I can try and do is I can mount this, but I don't know, it's taking too long. So let's just a sec. I have like a tripod.
Okay.
So let me.
Wow, it's so loaded. Your battle station is loaded, man. Your battle station is gonna be the first to be posted on this site.
Well, you know, if you stream, you gotta you gotta stream quality, right? Right now
Yeah.
I'm just setting up, so it's not really quality, but
You got all type of toys, all type of gears, microphone, camera, 2 cameras. Jesus Christ.
yeah.
It's quite a big investment into this gear set.
Okay, so now we're back with the keyboard slash whiteboard camera. So do you see
All
the
right.
keyboard now?
Yeah, I see the keyboard.
Okay, and now you see the whiteboard?
I see the whiteboard, yep.
Awesome. Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of draw out the naive architecture. Okay, so the naive architecture looks something like this. So we have our server here, and from our server we upload the image to S3. We get the response back from S3 saying that our image uploaded, right? And
Okay.
then from the server, we go to our database here and we upload. And then once the response comes back from the server, from the SQL server or any database server, that the image has been stored, then we return to the client.
Correct.
Okay, this is naive. Well, I don't want to call it naive, but this is basic architecture. Right?
Conventional.
Conventional, yeah. Right? Conventional is the way. Now here, what's really missing here is that in most architectures that you'll see, the processing of the image happens here on the server side. So you're gonna say, so grab me the image, take it to 250, 350, 450, 550, right?
Yeah.
Do it in like 5, 6, 7 image sizes. So we have a thumbnail, a big thumbnail, an iPad, an iPhone. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And then upload all of them to S3, come back all of them from S3, and then return, upload the data to our SQL server or any type of database, and then return the data to the client.
Yep.
Okay, so this is basic architecture, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, here is our 2.0 architecture. Okay, so we have the client here, marked with C, upload the image to a bucket on S3.
All right, so this is the original image that the user provided.
This is the original image that the user provided. We still don't know about it on our server side.
Correct. All right.
Now, from S3, we trigger a Lambda function. All right?
Mm-hmm.
We trigger a Lambda function once the image has been uploaded. And then this Lambda function processes the images. And then
this Lambda function processes the images?
Yeah.
I mean, I thought the Lambda just called the server.
Wait a second. This is the first Lambda. Right? So the Lambda function processes the images, and here we can have another process in the middle.
Oh, okay. So this Lambda recut it basically.
Yeah, exactly. So this is recut.
Got it. All right. So looking very interesting.
Now, the validation of whether it's an image or stuff like that is done on the client side. For the basic validations. So the Lambda function to recut, and then we upload those files. And upload is not the right word. It's putting the files, putting the objects into another S3 bucket. Right? So now we have a client, uploads to S3, Lambda to recut, upload to a different S3.
Sure.
Right? And then from this S3, we have another Lambda function here. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
And then this Lambda function calls our API
All right.
Okay.
Yep.
And then our API calls our database,
Got it.
saves the images, right?
Yep.
And this process returns to the client. So
You're drawing the S3 return to the client.
yeah. Once the client gets the first image that's been uploaded, the client will display it. Right? The
Okay.
client doesn't care about the recutting, the API, the stuff like that.
But then the client needs to eventually consume the
Well,
recutted
so
version.
eventually the client will consume the API,
Exactly.
and the API will have the recut images, the images that are already recut.
So
You know what I'm saying? So,
eventually,
but I mean, you have to think now. Again, we're talking about like the UX here. So the client will basically, if you think about it, right? So there's an upload process, and then during the like the images are uploaded, you wanna display like images on the page.
yep.
It's not yet the like real images, but it's
Yeah.
something to display on the page to like show the user, here's your image.
Yep. Yep.
So again, it's like a UX involved here. It's not only just like architecture and stuff like that, but what I'm saying is before it's even in the API and the client will consume the API, the client will be able to display an image and be happy, right? Basically.
Yeah. So once the recut is done, once the API is ready to provide the recut version of it, the client will switch to using the recut images, right?
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, that's pretty fucking awesome. I think it's very it's very refreshing. I've never never really crossed my mind, honestly, but it just make a whole lot of sense. And I think it'll be an interesting thing to implement this or see how to implement it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
um so here's what we're going to do. It's already 10. So we're definitely going to start.
Yeah.
But we'll see how much steam do I still have for this stuff at like 10 p.m. People in the chat room, you're our fuel. So if you have questions, feedback, comments, you keep us going. So go ahead, ask away. Don't be shy. You know. All right. So let's go ahead and just get started.
Okay.
Okay. So here is Amazon. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a new bucket. Okay.
All right.
So I'm not gonna be fancy here with command line and stuff like that. I think the visual process here matters more than showing off my command line skills.
All right.
Okay, so what we're gonna create is a name. So let's do creative network uploads. Okay, so this is in US West, and that's basically it. We don't need login. We don't need versioning for now. We don't need really like anything right now. Okay, so eventually we will need a bucket policy to allow users to upload stuff here. But right now, I'm literally gonna use this. Right, to upload images, just to to look at the process.
All right.
Okay. So the next thing we need is a lambda function. Now, I want to warn people here. If you use a lambda function, Amit Burst from Amit, I guess it's Amit Burstein from Twitch. Hey man, good to see you again. So I want to warn people here about using lambda with S3. And this is a huge, 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 huge warning that is completely not obvious when you start off, right? If I go, and again, to my fancy whiteboard, right? And you see this process here, that S3 triggers a lambda function, and this lambda function writes to a different S3.
Yeah.
If this lambda function, and this is completely not obvious, writes back to the S3,
Okay.
and you trigger it again, it's going to be an endless loop in your lambda function. Because it's basically going to trigger the lambda, write the file, and the file that you just written will trigger the lambda function again.
Oh, so it's gonna consume unlimited amount of money.
Exactly. So
it's gonna the bill again.
so this will run you dry.
This is dangerous.
Yeah. So and the only reason I know that is because I've done it.
How did you figure it out?
I got a bill, you know. So you have to realize that. Now there are some like protections against it, I guess. You know, you can trigger only based on a prefix and stuff like that. But I mean, what I would expect is that if the lambda function does something, that it wouldn't trigger that same lambda function. But I guess, you know, on the Amazon scale, they don't really care about it. They just say, if you put something there, I'm going to trigger the lambda function. I don't care like who put it there. So from, you know, their side, I can definitely see that. But, you know, from my side, it's definitely not, you know, not that obvious.
Ron, you try.
So
yeah, that's fun.
Okay, so now what we have here, so we're gonna get started, and we're gonna create a lambda function. Let's go ahead and create like a blank function, and this is gonna be triggered by S3, and the bucket is gonna be creative network upload, and you see event type is put, so basically new images. Prefix, for example, is gonna be originals, right?
Okay.
So all images that are like in originals are gonna be triggered, and then we're gonna do next here. So this is gonna be upload processing. It's gonna be Node 6. No, Node 610 is good. Well, we can do Python. I don't know.
Let's do Node.
Yeah, it's the only reason I don't like Node in these things is that there is a lot of boilerplate. But now that it's like 610, then I might be able to use await and async and stuff like that. So we'll see. So we'll do edit code in line, and then so then we're gonna do a callback with null and hello from lambda, and let's do like console.log lambda function has been called, and then we can do this now for the role, and again, this is one of those things that are not really obvious, is that by default, even though your lambda function and your S3 are on the same account, they can't like see each other. They can't access each other. So the lambda function has to have needs to have a role that will allow it to um,
What is?
to
I'm
handle
sorry,
it. Yeah.
I don't get what's the role here, the handler and the role.
So the handler is the function name. Um, so it's going to be index.handler means that the function name is handler in a file named index.js.
Okay,
So
okay,
this is
got
like
it,
the
got it.
function that the Amazon Lambda is gonna call.
What about the role?
So the role is permissions.
Okay.
Um, so let's see here. So we have a role. Let's see the policy document. So we have logs. Um, so let's do this. Okay, got it. So this is Lambda upload processing, I guess. Now, in real life, IRL, so to speak, um, this whole thing is handled in Terraform, right? I
Mm-hmm.
never actually like go here and do things.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and people need to kind of realize that um, it's one of those things that I'm doing now for just educational purposes, but in real life I'm not doing this. So I'm gonna allow everything on S3, and the resource is gonna be ARN AWS log. So this is ARN AWS S3. Let's see, S3 ARN. I don't remember like what the ARN prefixes is. So just a sec. So S3 ARN. So it's AWS S3 and then the bucket name. Okay, great. So what's our bucket name? Do you remember? It's
And no, I don't remember.
yeah.
Upload processing.
Yeah, no, it's not upload processing. It's like creative network uploads. Okay, so this is ARN S3 and then creative network uploads this and this. So I'm gonna allow everything on this resource. And then I'm gonna allow it to create logs. Okay, and then I'm gonna allow. Let's hope that everything here is correct. So we encountered a problem. So let's see what the problem is. Failed parsing. So something here with the JSON. So effect is
Just
allow, action is everything on S3, and then the resource is ARN S3. Let's see if this validates. Let's see.
maybe a typo somewhere.
Yeah, just a sec. So I'm gonna see that. So policy.json here, and then I'm gonna paste this in, and I'm gonna cat policy.json and pipe it to JQ, and yeah, this is valid. I mean, in terms of JSON, this is valid. Problem in attaching permission to role. Role will be created without permission. Why? So let's see here. Let's do this without this. Oh, I see. Okay, so let's go to the roles here. I am and look at roles. Lambda upload processing here. And let's have attach policy. No, that's not what I want. Inline policies, that's what I want. So custom policy, and let's do this. Validate policy name. So
Oh, policy.
okay, so validate policy. Invalid ARN. So ARN AWS S3. Oh, I got it. So this is here. Validate policy. There are following ARN AWS IAM policy. Creative network uploads. So ARN AWS S3 and then the bucket name. Okay. All right. ARN AWS S3 creative network uploads.
Oh, it has like 3 columns.
Oh, 3?
Yeah, you see that?
Yeah, I saw it. Okay.
It's weird.
Okay, this shows you how many times I've done it manually. Okay,
Yeah.
so now we have the policy here, and we have our Lambda function here, and we're gonna create a folder called, what do you call it? Originals.
Yeah.
And what I'm gonna do is I am going to upload a file here. Let's do it from, I don't know. Do we have?
Cat.
No, let's do it from the desktop. Okay, let's upload this. Okay, so next. And yeah, okay, standard, and then upload. So this uploads, right? And then we can go, oh, I haven't really created, you see? So existing role is Lambda S3 upload resize. Is that what I called it? No.
I forgot. I don't know.
No, it's Lambda upload processing. Where is it?
It's not part of the...
Yeah, it's just.
How did you have the resize? When did you create that name? Lambda S3 upload resize.
Well, no, like a few months ago. Okay, so this is Lambda upload processing. Okay, so this is the IAM, right? So Lambda upload processing.
Okay.
And then we're gonna do a console.log, and then it's gonna be upload processor Lambda. Node 610, edit code inline, everything here looks good. Index, and then this is the role, and we're gonna do next, and we're gonna do create function here. The triggers we're gonna do from S3, and it's gonna be from the creative network uploads, and prefix is originals, and we're gonna enable that. Okay. All right, so we can now go here and monitor this. So we can view the logs in CloudWatch. All right. All right, there's an error, so that means that we still don't have logs. So we're gonna upload another image. Let's grab this image and upload it next. All right, so we have it here. And this hasn't triggered yet. So let's see here. We still don't see anything. So this is originals. Okay, so let's look at the properties here. And so you see here, this did it.
Events.
But I'm not seeing it in the Lambda yet. So might not have permission So let's look here.
So slow down a little bit here. So how are you? So I know when we tested it, how are you seeing what's going on here? Like there's like your screen moves really fast.
Yeah, just a sec. Before before we do a lot more, I just want to see that. I see what I've done. I'm sorry about that. So the triggers, you see this? It's just object removed, and that's not what I want. So what I want,
Oh, okay.
yeah, this
Trigger
is
time.
yeah. So this should be put and originals, and then I'm gonna enable the trigger. So this was the problem. Okay, and then object remove, I can delete the trigger. Okay, and now I'm gonna upload again, add files, and then let's do this. And then we're gonna do next, upload, right? And this is gonna upload. And of course now it's taking forever, so it uploaded. Now we're gonna do the Lambda, and we're gonna monitor, and you see one invocation.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
And
I
then
see that.
when we view the logs in CloudWatch, we should see logs. And here it is. Okay, Lambda function has been called with the version latest and all of the good stuff.
Where is the console log information?
There it is. Lambda function has been called.
Where? Oh, okay. A lambda function has been called.
Okay, so Amit is asking a question on Twitch. What will this function do? So here is the high-level architecture. Let me see if you actually see that. Okay, so we are going to be uploading images from the client side directly to S3. And then we're going to have a Lambda function that will process the images and going to recut them. So we're going to process, let's say you have 1024 over 768. So we're going to process, I don't know, a thumbnail. So 200 over 200 or, stuff like that, right? And then we're going to put it to another bucket or to the same bucket, but with a different prefix. Okay, I hope that helps hope that answers your question. So right now, all we did is we just did the plumbing for basic Lambda invocation. Okay, so to recap here, what we have is we created an S3 bucket. Right now, we're basically uploading from S3, console. We created a Lambda function, right? And then once the Lambda function gets triggered, we do something. And right now, this something is nothing. And here, what we're gonna do is we're gonna process the image and put it on the same bucket, but with a different prefix. So we're gonna have originals and we're gonna have resized. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So,
okay, so basically right now we have a trigger, we have a lambda that's working. We haven't implemented the lambda, but
yeah.
The trigger part is working
Yeah.
at least. Awesome.
Okay, so here's what we want to do now. So we want to create this project and creative.network.lambda, right? And then .lambda. What node version am I running? So v695. So let's do v6.10. Node-v dot creative. Did I misspell lambda? I did. Creative.network.lambda. Thank you for noticing. So creative.network.lambda. And vmrc. So let's do again v6.10. -v. So this doesn't really do anything for some reason. All right, NVM is not really working for me right now. Let's not focus on that, but let's just focus on doing what we want to do. Okay, so we're gonna do npm init here. And the name is going to be Creative Network Lambda. Version is going to be 001. Description is going to be upload processing images for processing uploaded images for the Creative Network. Entry point is going to be index.js. I don't really care about. I don't really care about. Don't really care. Don't really care. Don't really care. Don't really care. Is this okay? Yes, it is. Okay. Oh, we have Binary Sloth Tree with us again on Twitch. Good to see you. We've highlighted you on one of our blog posts.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, with all the great questions. Good to see you again. Okay, so now this is a blank slate here. Okay. Now here's what I like to have in a Lambda function. Oh, thank you for that. So here's what we have for a Lambda function project. So now before anybody kind of suggests in the chat room, I know all of the projects that kind of help you with Lambda, whether it's Zappa or serverless or all of those, and I don't really care for them at all. I basically roll my own, and it's a very, very simple version that has zero intelligence in it. So
what do you mean you roll your own?
Yeah,
version?
just roll my own. What I mean is like I have my own like build scripts. I have my own way of uploading. I have everything. So I don't really like use all of those fancy projects. Okay, so here's what I like to do. I like to have fixtures.
Okay.
And this is where I store JSON files that I use to test my Lambda function. And now there are two things we need to add here. So first things first, we want to have this working with yarn. So now this is working with yarn. We have a yarn.lock. And we don't have a yarn.lock for some reason. Oh, we don't have nothing to install. So we're going to add a nice little project called Lambda Local. And there it is. You see here, Lambda Local.
Okay.
You see? So this is really, really, really nice way to test your Lambda functions before you actually deploy them.
Okay.
So yeah, it's really nice. So we are going to add that. I never remember how to add yarn to the development environment. Oh yeah, --dev, --dev, and Lambda local. What else do we need? We need the AWS SDK, Node. Let me search for that for a second. SDK. Malachi joined us on live edu. Welcome, Malachi. Okay, so this is it. npm install AWS SDK. So this should be a part of our dependencies. So we're gonna add AWS SDK. All right, and then we're gonna add index.js here. What else? Um, I think that's I think that's about it. Um, I mean, at least to get us started. So let's split the screen here in half. Look at our index.js file. And let's go ahead and get started with what we had with Amazon here, which is this. Okay.
Okay.
All right, so you see this?
Mm-hmm.
So index.js
So,
and then
so lambda
handler.
dash local. Okay.
Yeah, and let's have um
But you don't have test
yeah, I
event.json.
know. Well, like I told you, it's not the first time I use this, so this is, in my history. So let's create a fixtures and test event.json, and right now we're gonna just do this, okay? Because we really don't need anything else. So let's do fixtures and then test event .json. Okay, so what we have here, callback is not a function. So this seems okay. So here's the deal. This seems to be using the older version of Lambda, which did not have a callback. It has something called a context, and you called context.done. So let me see that just a sec. So yeah, you see this? So callback is not a function, even though like callback is the function here. Um, so let's just for a second, just delete this. And you see Lambda function has been called.
Oh.
And now it's going to time out after 5 seconds. Um,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's a great way to test Lambda functions. Now what I'm gonna do here,
But I don't get, sorry, I don't understand where does the test fixture, what's the role for that? What's the purpose of having like a fixture
okay,
test.json?
so here's the deal, right? So when you have this kind of architecture here, let me look at our camera here just a sec. Okay, so when your client uploads an image or an object to S3, your
Yeah,
Lambda gets triggered.
yeah.
Now your Lambda gets triggered with a very, very specific JSON file or event.
Like it's triggered by the JSON
Yeah, it's like
event.
think about it. If you think about it, it's like you have an API and the API is being called with a JSON.
Okay,
So someone is posting a JSON saying something happened.
okay.
So this event is what we use here in the JSON. So instead of Amazon sending it to us, right? And I want to show you that. So let's go again to like Amazon here and do test. And what you can see here that they have many sample events, and you see this. This is one of their events.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a sample from S3. So we are gonna go here, and we're gonna paste that. So you see you have records, and then you have S3. You have a bucket, and you have a region. You have the event source.
Yeah,
All of those stuff. There should be an object. Yes, there it is. So you see there's the object and then it has a key.
okay.
So for us, the object we're going to use is one of our image names here with the PNG.
Okay.
This. And sorry, so let's copy this. All right, so this is what we're going to use, right?
So this is the, just want to make sure I understand correctly. So this is the JSON object that Amazon posts to the Lambda to trigger the Lambda function.
Exactly.
Okay. All right. And the object is the name of the image. Okay, that makes sense. It needs to identify the object you work with.
Okay.
All right.
Um, all right. So now here, so now this is triggering our Lambda function. And the event is basically, now I'm not sure if it's JSON, if it's parsed already or not. So we can check. So we can do here. So here is console.log, Lambda has been called. And here we can do if local, sorry, so if not local. Okay, so we're gonna implement that in a second, but const local equals false. Oh, sorry, so this is true. Okay, so if it's local, then we're gonna do this, else we're gonna call context dot done. Okay. We're gonna implement this local thing in a second. I know it's ugly, but we're gonna do it in a second. Okay. So now we can do console.log event.records, and we're gonna grab the first one. And again, I'm not like inventing something here. This is coming from the fixtures test event. So event records, and it's always an array. And it's always an object inside the array, right?
Okay.
So event.record.s3.key. Okay?
Okay.
So now we can run the Lambda local again. And we get undefined. So records. And then what's going on here? Let me see what I missed. So Misfortune 3 on Twitch is asking, how did you learn programming and what is the language? Like the language that I'm programming with right now? So event.records, and then it's a first record dot s3 dot, oh, it's dot object dot key. Okay, got it. So Misfortune 3, if you could just clarify your question, if it's the language that I'm using right now, or general, like what languages do I code with? I'm not really sure. Oh yeah, so Misfortune 3 is saying yes, this language. So let me answer kind of the questions in order. So I learned programming, or I started programming when I was 13 or 14 years old. Yeah, I just picked up. I always like to tell this story, but um, so there was like this youth magazine back where I grew up, and they just had this like pamphlet. You know, if if Amit is still here and he grew up where I grew up, then maybe he knows what I'm talking about. But um, so there was like this pamphlet or like little book, literally like 12 pages long or 8 pages long. You know what I'm saying? It's like literally just like to pique your curiosity. And it was like learn HTML. And I used a computer before. I basically been using a computer since I was 8 years old, but for basic games and stuff, not for programming. When I picked up this book and it kind of showed how you can create websites, And I don't know if any of you guys have been around for HTML4, HTML. I don't even remember what HTML version it was, but it was pretty awkward. But it was fascinating to me. So that's where I started. That's where I kind of started to learn. And I don't think how did you learn. I think I'm always learning up until this day. Um, and in terms of what language is this, so this is JavaScript. Um, and yeah, I guess that's a short answer. This is JavaScript. So this is object.key. And now we can run the Lambda local, and you see the key here on my screen. So the key is
Yeah.
screenshot 2017 0418 EQ blah 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 blah. Right? It doesn't really matter.
Why is this still showing an error?
Oh, this is from before. You see now no more error.
Oh, like it's still showing error.
Where? No,
Yeah, I
that's
see
okay.
it.
Context.done. That's okay. That's
Oh,
context. Yeah, that's
so
okay.
it's the context.
So it's context.done or context dot. I never remember, was it context.done or doesn't really matter. Anyway, on something that's not local, it's gonna be the callback function here. So okay, so someone on live edu what, oh man, I'm just like breaking my teeth here with those
KKOMAS.
KKOMAs, I guess. Is asking, just started reading your Medium articles regarding the project. Purpose of GraphQL, is it just a nice thing to have for grabbing data that you need? So I don't know if I would put GraphQL in the nice things to have category, but it's just a way to query data from the server. So think about an API, and any okay, I'm saying he didn't grow up there, but his parents did. So again, I don't know if I would put the GraphQL in the nice things to have category, but I mean, think about an API, and this API has many things it needs to return. Either it's many objects, or it's many attributes per object, or anything of that nature. And also think about the ways you need to query that API. So for example, if we take just your average API call, so what you would do is you would do, I don't know, like this. So you do curl https your company.com/API/v2/user and ID equals something, right? I mean, that's like your random REST or /user/2, right? I don't know. But what if you now want to have user ID equals 2, but you also, you know what? You don't want users with an ID of 2. You want users that registered, I don't know, something like since yesterday. So an engineer would have to implement this API call, and would have to release a version and so on and so forth. With GraphQL, what you have is you have your schema, and then the client can basically query almost anything they want on that schema. And also they can care about some stuff and not care about other stuff. So for example, what you have is, let's say you have this user API here with the curl. Then what you'll have is you'll have a first name, you have a last name, you have an email, you have your Facebook I don't know, like user ID or Twitter user ID and whatever. Now a new client comes by, and like I'm talking about an API client, and they also care about 3 other fields. So what you will do is you'll add those 3 other fields. Now the other clients that don't need those 3 other fields still have that performance hit of getting those 3 other fields. Um, you should read more about GraphQL. It's definitely a nice thing to have, but there is more to it than that. Especially like in the current company that I work at, we have many microservices, and with GraphQL, what you can do is you can say, if I use this query, then those services are involved. And if I use this query, then those services are involved and using permissions from that service. Um, so it's a great way to kind of map objects only when you need them to specific calls. I guess it's like late, so I hope I explained that right. Misfortune3 on Twitch is asking, so what kind of applications are you making, and what is this function you're working on right now? So the application we are working on can be found here. So there's a specific category, so I'm gonna link it in the chat. So I'm gonna put it in both chat rooms. So this shows you can go back in history and see what the application we're using, and the function that I'm writing right now is doing resizing of images on S3 buckets. Okay, so great. So now we have this Lambda local, and we have this screenshot. And as you can see right now, like this event.records and s3.object.key, all of these are, they come in from Lambda. So it's pre-processed and passed into our function.
Yep.
So what we need to do now is call AWS with S3 API. So we're gonna import. Oh man, it's I'm sorry. It's like import AWS from, I guess, AWS SDK. And then what we can have is let S3 equals AWS.S3. And what we need here is the authentication. Okay. So we're going to put the authentication here in a second.
What does this do again?
So what we need right now is, so here's the deal, right? What happens is we get the Lambda function triggered and we have the key, but we don't have the object. We don't have the S3 object. So we don't have the actual image. So what we need is we need to call S3 get and get the image to process. Right? We need the data.
I got it.
So I'm thinking, so I'm stuck like here. And the reason I'm stuck here is because I'm thinking what is the best way to do it without exposing authentication here on the stream.
I see.
So, let's try this. Maybe it grabs it from the environment variable. So we're gonna export this into environment variables in a second. Okay, so now, what do we want to do? We want to get it. So we do this. So S3 dot get object, and this accepts a bucket, which is going to be our source bucket name, and it accepts a key, which is going to be our object key, right? And this does this have a then? I never remember. Function, and I think this has a response object here. So we can do console.log response. All right, so first things first, const source bucket name equals, what's the name of our bucket again? Creative Network Uploads. Right? And
Okay.
then instead of logging this, what's going on? Okay, so this is going to be the object key. Okay, we don't need this really. So this is going to be here, this is going to be here. And I think this is good for now. So here's what's going to happen now. Now it's going to blow up.
Because it doesn't have the credential.
Yeah, but also because, I don't know, something with my NVM. So we're going to do this as a require. Const AWS equals require AWS SDK. AWS S3 is not a function?
Maybe calling the wrong method.
Yeah, I did. So it's S3. So, all right. So we're going to continue. Oh, so this is new. Yeah, I'm not writing Python. Okay. Okay, so now this should actually, and this is why I don't like. Anyway, so let's do this. And then console.log response. Okay, so you see this? Now it blew up. So the AWS access key you provided does not exist in our record. And obviously I didn't provide any. Okay, so now comes the complicated part. And here's the complicated part. What I'm gonna do is off the screen, I'm gonna export my my credentials so they don't leak to the stream. All right.
Okay.
So just a sec, I'm gonna do that. So let me do that in a second here. Okay. So I think here's what I think I have. I think I have export AWS profile. Let's see what I have here. Okay, so let's see. All right. All right, let's try. So lambda local. All right, so it's invalid still. Let's see which export. Export AWS profile. Okay, so this is export. Okay. Extract. Okay, let's see. Echo. Oh, no, I can't do that. Okay, so let's attend to the question here for a second before we do that. So, KK Omaz is saying on live edu, cool, thank you. So you're welcome. Makes a lot of sense. We've been working on integrating GraphQL as well. Not really involved in that process on our team, but finding ourselves creating a bunch of microservices that's going to need access to the DB. Duplicating the DB queries is no bueno long term. Nice to have a standard data store interface for all the microservices. Thanks for the validations. So here's what I'm gonna say, and I have zero knowledge into your team and your startup or your company or whatever, but you know, I'm just gonna tell you like it is. When you implement GraphQL in an architecture that involves a lot of microservices, what you will do inevitably is DDoS yourself. And it's going to happen. I assure you, it's going to happen. What you will see is that you will have a lot of trouble implementing the resolvers correctly, and you will end up just DDoSing your own service. So definitely gonna like having a data access layer that is persistent, that has a pool, will help. But before that, you need to think a lot about your schema and a lot about how you are accessing services. Literally, the one thing you hear in any GraphQL meetup from any of the speakers is that if you really want to, you can DDoS our service. I think I've heard it, I mean, up until now, I think I've heard it from 10 different people, 12 different people. And if by design I can DDoS your service, then it's no bueno, using your own words. So really think about the schema, really think about the data access layer, really think about the queries, and use your layers correctly. If you have Nginx on the services and you're calling, you're calling from GraphQL to Nginx, use Nginx to your advantage. Like use the caching layer, use the SSL negotiation layer. You know what I'm saying? Just like think through how GraphQL implements the data layer and queries the services. Okay, so I'm still stuck on exporting my credentials. But what I want to test right now is SWS S3 LS S3 and creative.network.uploads and then -- profile avi, and let's see if we get it. No such bucket. Oh, it's creative. Okay, so I'm just verifying. Okay, so I do have it. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is eval this AWS env. All right, this is what I'm gonna do. So eval AWS env avi. Okay, so let's do this now. And okay, so this seems to not really care about these credentials. So let's check this out here. So AWS S3. So this should have let's see. So this should have a key. So let me check here just a sec. I think this should have like a key and a secret key. So just a sec. So this is S3. And yeah, so you see it has secret access key. So inhabitants credentials to sign the request with. So maybe it has a profile as well. No, it doesn't have a profile. So let's see. So it has an access key ID and a secret access key, right? And these come from the environment. All right, so this is going to be what's going on? Okay, so process.env AWS access key, I want to say, and then this is process.env AWS secret. All right, let's see.
Where did you get the process object from?
Process is a node object. AWS env.
I see.
Yeah, so it's AWS access key ID. Like so. And then AWS secret access key. Like so. All right, so let's do this. Oh, so this should be this. Okay, you see this?
Okay.
So now we get a good thing. And the good thing is this. So the key name is not actually just the file name, because we know it belongs in originals. So what we want to do is in our JSON object here, here the key is actually originals.
Okay.
Okay, so now we're gonna run this, and
No.
we get back a null, and this is because this is error and what do we call it? Data? I don't know. So let's do here data. Okay.
All right. I think we got something.
So we have, as you can see,
we have body. Yeah, we have the data.
Yeah, we have the data. So the body is, as you can see, it's a buffer, and we can read it, and we can process it. You see the content type, you see an e tag, you see
Awesome.
a content length. So we have like the basic version of our service. Now, what I want to do before I move forward here is first have this as a Git repository and ignore node modules.
Yeah, this might be a good time to good point to cut off.
Are you tired?
No, well, It's 11 already, so whatever we start, are we gonna be able to like continue?
Well, we can cut it off. Just one thing I wanna do before we cut off. So I wanna edit my dot files. Just a sec.
Okay.
So something with my yeah, NVM should be working. You see? So NVM should be working.
Oh, you use Z shell, oh my Z shell as well?
Well, I don't use all my Z shell. I use ZSH.
Oh, okay.
Um, so node version. So let's do 610. So node-v is still here. NVM are see, I do have NVM here. I don't know, something here is off. So it's like I don't have NVM installed. Let's see. Just because I want to use the same version.
Mhm.
Is there a brew? Brew installation is not supported. Okay. So let's look at this. Okay, so we have test profile. Okay. Download. And then install. Okay. So let me just check this out. Yeah, it seems like it's already installed. Yeah, and I have this NVM here. Okay. Okay. All right. So to download compile. Okay, so we have Node. But what's the NVMRC? Is it NVMRC or Node version? Oh, I see. It's NVMRC. I know I was doing something right or something wrong. Okay, so this is NVMRC here, and this should be 6.10. Node-v. Oh, this is still 695. Okay, 610. So NVM install 6.10. Okay, so we're installing the.
What is it? What it used to be? What version was it on? 6.9 or something?
6.9.5.
Okay. So now it's on par.
And now I think. Come on. This is SDK. Okay, so it seems like Lambda local doesn't really like the import. So we're just going to continue with that. Okay. So you want to cut off here? We can definitely do that.
Seems like a good point to cut off.
Okay,
But
so let's go ahead and do that. So we're gonna cut off here. What we saw here is if we grab our kind of infrastructure architecture whiteboard here, is we implemented this part, right? We already have like an S3 bucket here. And we kind of started implementing the Lambda function that will process the images and put them back on the S3 bucket. Okay, but this step here, while seems like a simple one arrow kind of thing, there's a lot of there's a lot of plumbing involved. You need the permissions and you need the policy and you need to know what the policy is and like debugging the policy and so on and so forth. So definitely a good point to kind of stop. And for next time, we are going to implement the resize and continue on.
Yeah, by the way, I think I just want to comment on today's session. I think today you took the streaming to another level. Personally, I know that's how I feel. I mean, just being able to kind of lay out like an alternative way of architecturing it, and it's just so refreshing. And then basically you started by explaining what is the naive way, the conventional way of doing it, and what is the alternative way of doing it, and you were able to like draw out this chart. I think I understood it, at least I understood it perfectly. I think the viewers, if they pay attention to what you draw on the whiteboard, they can understand it and then go into implementation. I think this is I've never seen this kind of thing, this kind of learning material or whatever it is before, right? Never. This is not really, this is very, very valuable. I think this is a very unique experience.
Thank you.
Right? Literally, this is to another level. And this is
you.
not something you can find on an everyday basis, right?
Thank
this
you.
kind of clarity, right? Yeah, so I just really want to kind of compliment on that. It's you took it to another level.
Thank you. I hope our viewers enjoyed it as well. I know I did.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, you know what I'm saying? This is where if you think outside your comfort zone, and outside, the box of, hey, I have a Rails app and a database and maybe memcached, then if you think about it and you really think where are your vulnerable parts and how do you bridge them with smart architecture, right? I mean, you also have to think about where you deploy your software because, for example, if you deploy your software to Amazon, you have a lot of infrastructure support, like Lambda, triggers, S3 that you might not have if you're moving. And again, so what we did today with like this architecture, you can literally discuss it for days.
Yeah.
Right? Because what you can do is then you can insert for with the lack of a better word, into the discussion whether you want to lock into Amazon. Because if you think about it right now, this process, if you're moving away from Amazon, it's not gonna work. You know what I'm saying?
It's not. You're right.
So you have to understand what happens if Lambda has an outage.
Right.
Right. So there's a lot of like discussions here that can occur. So with anything, almost anything in architecture, there is no this is the right way and that's it. There's always this is the right way to do it with these constraints. And then this is the right way to do it with those constraints. Right?
Yep.
And there is almost never, really, almost never like a clear cut way of in architecture saying this is the right way. I mean, other than like simple stuff like, hey, this should have an index on the database. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying?
Yep.
Or this database should have a higher network, line, right? Stuff like that. They're like simple. That's it. That's what you need. That's it. You cannot breach over that. I mean,
Yeah.
that's a limiting factor or something like that. But in like architecture of a product like this, it's like so small, right? Even in architecture of a product like this, there's always advantages and disadvantages, and there's always a price for the complexity that is hidden from you.
Right.
Because the complexity that is hidden from you and not required, um, implement and does not require implementation, like the lambda functions, um, and all those triggers and what happens and policies and stuff like that. That's complexity that's hidden from you, but it's also complexity that if you move away from this solution, then you will need to think about it. And you really need to think about whether you want to lock into Amazon or you want to do something else. And again, I don't know if we should discuss it or not, but I think today, if you are on the cloud,
Hmm.
quote unquote, um, and you're using one vendor, your chances of not locking in to this vendor are slim to none.
Okay.
Um, so I think vendor lock-in today to me is not really a discussion, because if you're using Amazon, you're likely locked in before you implement this feature.
Right. Yeah, it makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? If you're using just use one app, just use an app and a database, you're already locked in,
Yeah.
right? There's always levels of being locked in, and the bigger you are, the bigger your product is. Those level of lock in, they only they only grow. They never go smaller. They always grow. So one of those can be if I have an RDS, then it might be too big to move. Right? If I have a 30 terabyte database, I'm never gonna move it. Never. Like, I mean, there should be like something crazy that's gonna happen for me to move it, right? I don't know if like an acquisition and the acquiring company in the contract says you have to move to our data center, right? Other than that, you're not moving. I mean, let's put it this way: you're not moving unless if you're using AWS and Google comes to you and say, "Hey, I'm gonna give you the next 5 years free." Right? Other than those things, you're never gonna move it.
Yeah.
So to me, you're already pretty much locked in. Vendor lock in, unless you can prove to me that this is what locks you in more than another thing, it's not really a discussion. But you know what I'm saying? It's like you can discuss those things to exhaustion. um, and yeah, there is nothing. There's not an like one clear answer. One thing I do want to comment on, and I know it's late. It's gonna be my last kind of comment, unless people in the chat room have questions. Um, One of the things that I always see, is that people are too afraid. I don't know if afraid is the word, but people are too um, conservative to even go into the discussion. Right? They say, "Oh, this is too complex to implement," or "Oh, if like you implementing that only you know about it," and all of those things are easily bridgeable. You can pair program with someone on it, and then suddenly you're not the only one that knows it. You can write an implementation document, right? And suddenly you're not the only one that knows it. Um, so, you know, you can go back and forth on it, but don't let yourself just fall into what you know. If you really think about the correct implementation to things, then you usually can come up with smarter architecture than just web app and database. Uh, Not sure you need it again, like we said, at the beginning of the stream. Not sure you need it, but I mean, it's for us right now. It's a cool implementation, and why not?
Mhm.
All right, so thank you everyone of the viewers. It's been a pleasure. Thank you KK Omaz for the question. Amit Misfortune 3, Binary Sloth Tree, and the rest of the viewers. Thank you so much, and we will be with you again this week. Actually, we will be with you again tomorrow, same time, same place. Right, Stevens?
Yeah, we can do it tomorrow.
All right.
Yep.
So tomorrow, same time, same place. Follow on Twitter and on the Medium blog I linked to. If you have any questions and comments, feel free to, tweet at me or at Stevens. And see you tomorrow.
Bye.